Welcome to Law Excellence Hindu News Analysis. Today we are going to cover these topics that are appeared in the Hindu newspaper. Now coming to the first article. Now this article is saying that India needs to share contraceptive responsibility. Now what is the context of the news? The context of the news is saying that in India the family planning programs are promoting gender inequality, and not only that, presently the process of contraceptive procedures and also reproductive control procedures are gender unequal. Why? In India, majorly we used to follow the process of tubectomy. What is meant by tubectomy? It's a birth control measure, right? It is being said that in earlier time, that is at the time of 1966, there is around 60 to 70% of the processes or sterilization is about through vasectomy. Now, vasectomy is a sterilization process done to the male. Now, it is being said that now vasectomy process has been reduced to just 0.5%. Now it is majorly concentrated by tubectomy, that is sterilization through male. Now this is comes under the gender inequality. That is what this article is saying. Now where this article is relevant to the syllabus. Now if you see GS1 paper, it has been asked what are the challenges faced by the women at different stages of their life, right? Now one of the stages is reproductive stage, right? Reproductive rights of the woman. Now this article comes under the reproductive rights of the woman. Now you can relate this, even the question directly may not ask. It can be used as an example in JS paper 1 and JS paper 2 or any question in JS paper 4, especially related to the gender equality, right? Now this article mentioned that what are the reasons for increasingly using a process of sterilization of tubectomy, that is female sterilization. Why not male? And what are the suggestions? These are what discussed in this article. Okay, we will discuss that. Now this process of sterilization is actually using vasectomy percentage is remained at 0.3%. That is male sterilization process is only 0.3%. Now this is saying that sexual double standards, right? Now many feminists are arguing that this is about controlling the bodily autonomy of women. Now this is against the rights of the woman. Now National Health Policy 2017 is also have a target of reaching the male sterilization to 30%. Now presently it is only 0.3%. Now this is against the SDG goal of gender equality, right? Now to address this problem, to address the gap between this 0.3 and 30%, now recently government announced that November 15 this year as a vasectomy day of vasectomy or male sterilization day to promote the male sterilization, right? Now this is the context of the news. Now it is being said that why this day is announced, because to increase awareness among the male, to generate the demand from the male by removing the social stigma and debunking the misconceptions. There are misconceptions also. For example, it has been said that what are the misconceptions? Now misconception is one of the reasons. Now what are the reasons for only going after for tubectomy, that is female sterilization? Now first there is male egos. Now it has been said that in a survey conducted recently, it has been said that in Maharashtra, male are working a lot, so it is the role of women to conceive the children and taking care all this process involved in it. Now men are doing a lot of work. Now while undergoing these type of operations and things like that, they will lose the working days. They lose wage days. That is what they are saying. Now another important thing is that misconception about its impact on libido. Libido means it's about sexual desire. That is saying that their capacity of intimacy or sexual desires will reduce. Now this is what the misconception or apprehension among the men to undergo this male sterilization process. Now this is one of the misconception. This has to be debunked with a lot of awareness. Next, poor awareness about government incentives. Now as per this national health policy and other family planning programs, government will provide certain intensives for undergoing male sterilization. Now people don't know about these intensives because they are thinking that they will lose the wage days. Then this will be compensated as per the policy, right? Now these things are there. Now this article also provided certain measures. Now it is being said that this is about the mindset rather than about a scientificity, because it is being said that male sterilization is completely safe, but still it has to be accepted by the people. How they can be accepted? It has to be sensitization, gender sensitization, especially regarding sexual awareness and sexual education that can be started in early adolescence in the school level. This is what mentioned in this article. Now it is being that there is a need of monitored peer group discussion for debunking the myths, especially regarding this impact on libido and conditional caste incentives. Recently, a study conducted in Maharashtra tribal areas, it is being said that male are increasingly participating in the male sterilization process. When they are announced conditional cash transfers, this is working out. Now, because of this, in MP also recently there is increase in cash compensation of 50%, then standard policy recommendation to encourage people to undergo the male sterilization. Next, this article mentions there is a need of training more health professionals to perform the procedure. Now, it has been said that there is a depth of human resources to conduct these type of processes. Now, next, there is important thing is there is a need of promoting technical advancements to increase the use of non-scalpel vasectomies. Non-scalpel vasectomies, it's a more safe way of conducting male sterilization under the vasectomy process, right? Now, these are the things, and article also mentions some of the best practices internationally in South Korea and Bhutan. Here, majority of this sterilization is happened through male sterilization. Now, this indicates the social progress of the society, progressive ideas and values, right? Hence, this article is saying that we just need not to create only targets such as 30%, things like that. We need to do our efforts to reach the target. So, hence, they need to create the demand from men themselves only. Now, this is what the article is saying. Now, use this article as an example in wherever the answer that is possible, especially questions related to gender inequality and the reproductive rights of the woman. And reproductive rights is a repeated topic in sociology optional also. You can use there also, right? Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is saying that questions on places of worship act remain pending in Supreme Court for 4 years. Now, you have to know the context of the news. In India, there is a law called Places of Worship Act 1991. Now, this act is to prevent the communalization of the religious issue, especially in claiming the mosques and temples. Now, it has been said that certain group of organizations are claiming that these particular mosques are built on the temples, and this there is continuous claims that are going on. So, to prevent such issues, it has been enacted in 1991 that to maintain the character of any religious sites or institutions as per the August 15, 1947. Now, this is what the act is saying. Now, recently there are continuous claims, such as recently there is an issue called Ajmer Dargah in Rajasthan. Now, it has been said that it is built on some remnants of the temple. Now, this is what the argument. Now, similarly, there is a case happening in Uttar Pradesh, a Sambal violence. Now, there is also a claim regarding this that a certain mosque is built on certain other temple, or things like that. Now, All India Muslim Personal Law Board saying that when the act is saying that you have to preserve and conserve the character of the religious sites and to preserve the secularism and basic virtues of the constitution, that why now the courts at regional level, that is here in this context is the Rajasthan court directing the Archaeological Survey of India that to look after the petition put forth in the context of Ajmer Dargah. Now, this Muslim personal law board questioning the Supreme Court. Now, actually, Supreme Court is saying that it questioned the center, but center is silent regarding this act. Now, this is what the context is. From the examination perspective, where you can use these things. Directly question may not ask, but again, you can use them as an example in answers in GS paper 1, especially if there are any questions regarding communalism, secularism, and religious minority. You can use the Sambal violence or claiming of religious places by the other religious organizations, things like that, as an example. And not only from the examination perspective, you have to know certain things about the Archaeological Survey of India from the Plin's perspective, because it's a statutory body, right? Now, from the Plin's perspective, it is important to know that this Archaeological Survey of India is established in the year 1861 by the Alexander Cunningham. Remember this. After independence, it is established as a statutory body. Now, remember that this Archaeological Survey of India is a statutory body which works under the Ministry of Culture. Now, what is the act that provided this statutory status? It is Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act of 1958. Right now, what is its function? Its function is research, conservation, exploration, and excavation. Now, all these are the functions of this, right? Now, from the prelims perspective, remember this fact, and mains perspective, you can use this violence of and issues of Jnanamapi Mosque and issue of Ajmer Dargah and Sambal violence. You just have to integrate things like this into the main syllabus. Okay. Now coming to the next article. Now this article is saying that this article is majorly about digital arrests happening in India wide. Now it is being said in the last years of 2023, 90,000 cases are registered, especially under the digital arrest. These are just reported cases, and there are many more unreported. Now, as per the National Cyber Security Coordination Center, it has been said that the 19 that is helpline number under the cyber security got around 14 lakh calls last year. Now, this indicates in the increasing penetration of cyber crimes in India. Now, what is meant by the cyber arrest? Now it is being said that some people are calling the vulnerable people and saying that they are law enforcement officials, that they are saying that your identity is misused in doing some financial crimes, terrorist activities, or your identity got some parcel, that parcel is stuck in the customs office, that parcel has some illegal things, and to avoid the case you have to pay some lump sum money or things like that. And there is a issue of sextortion also happening, in which women are targeting their sexual abuse digitally in the name of these cyber frauds and parcel scams. To avoid the cases you have to listen to the sexual desires, things like that. Now these are the happenings. Okay, now from the examination perspective, this article is important, especially from JS3 cyber security perspective, right? We have to see what is the vulnerability in India about the cyber security, what is the India's readiness to address this issue of cybersecurity? What are the measures that India have taken? Now, these are the things you have to learn from the examination perspective. Now, what is the first vulnerability of India? Why India is vulnerable? Firstly, because of digitalization of governance. Now we are focusing on the e-governance, right? Now everything is going digitalized. Now people give a lot of data regarding government, and government have a lot of data about the people. Now all these are in danger, and not only that, cashless transaction. Now we are focusing on the digital economy, cashless payments, things like that. Now when entire transactions are in digital, now the data of these transactions are very important, right? They have to be secure. Sometimes there are fraudulent transactions are also happening, right? Now digital economy. Now we are focusing on the digital business, especially now businesses are setting up in the digital level, right? Registering the business and everything for the ease of doing business, things like that. So digital security is very important, especially the cyber security ecosystem. Now mobile penetration. Now it is being said that India has around 80 crore to 90 crore mobile penetration. Now it's also been said that there are around 60 to 70 crore smartphone penetration. So now increasingly people are using these digital services and digital public infrastructure provided by the government. Now, and there is another issue that people are using the services of digital technology, but there are lack of awareness among the people. Especially this is prevalent in rural areas. Now it is being said that even people who are very much educated, that is Supreme Court lawyers, officers, government servants, and all these are falling prey for this issue of digital arrest. Now, what is the situation of the vulnerable sections of the society, right? Poor people. Now, this is the vulnerable. Now, it is being said that in the last year itself, the recorded thing, the recorded cyber scams lead to the theft of 2,000 crore. Now, within 1 year, this may lead to around 1 lakh crore. Now, this is what said by the government itself in this article, right? Because of increasing transactions at the digital level. Now, all these things are the vulnerability of India. Now, what is the India's readiness to address this menace of cyber issue? Now, in an organized way, you have to do like this. This will be very helpful in the examination also. Don't write in a just like that, okay? You have to write in an organized manner. If you see this legal frameworks, India's readiness is there is legal frameworks to punish and convict the culprits. For example, it may be any phishing theft, identity theft, or data theft. All this can be convicted under this law, such as IT Act, Digital Personal Data Protection. And now this was passed recently, become an act, okay? And BNS, Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, and all these are used, okay, to punish the culprits. And next, institutional mechanisms are this. Certain institutions are established to look after the issues. There is certain India Computer Emergency Response Team. Now this respond to the threats based on the complaints. Now cybercrime reporting portal. Now whenever you got any digital arrest, things like that, or a cybercrime issue, you can report at 1930 or this portal itself. Now when these information is being coordinated and cooperated by the I4C, that is Cybercrime Coordination Center between the investigation agencies. It analyzes the data, monitor the data, and analyze the trends and analytics, things like that. No, it is about the interdepartmental coordination. This Cybercrime Coordination Center is about, right? And there is another important thing, that is National Critical Infrastructure Protection Center for protecting the critical infrastructure. What is meant by critical infrastructure? Which is critical for the economy, such as banking, communication, okay, things like that, okay. Now another public awareness campaigns are also happening. For example, you know about cyber swachhata kendras, in which government is using certain software for bot cleaning. That is, if any virus is there, you can remove that, things like that, and collaboration with tech firms such as Google and Facebook. Okay, all these are the measures taken by the India over the time. Now there are certain challenges to be addressed. The first and foremost challenge is about rapid evolution of cyber threats. Now cyber threats or cyber crimes is taking different forms in different. For example, initially it is about OTP passwords, things like that. Now it is about cyber arrest, and it is because of people don't have awareness about the laws also or legal terms, things like that. So it is evolving with the technology. For example, recently the cyber frauds involving this cryptocurrency also. Okay, darknet, all these are using. So and cyber threats also evolving. Now government or security agencies should also evolve according to that. Next, shortage of skilled professionals. Now this article itself mentioned that India need around 10 million skilled professionals to address this issue of cyber crimes, but presently there is lacking in nature. And next, jurisdictional issues. Now it is being said the cyber crimes are operated from a different state. For example, now in this case it is being said that now the case mentioned in this article that the accused person who is involved in the cyber crime, his location is showing as Pakistan. Right? There is a need of interstate or inter-country coordination, right? For extradition or things like that. There is a need of alignment of the cyber policies also for conviction and things like that. So there are jurisdictional issues. It is difficult to trace also their digital footprint. Next, there is lack of infrastructure such as cyber forensics. Why cyber forensics are important? For example, people who are doing this cyber arrest and cyber crimes, all they may leave some digital footprints. Now this digital footprints has to be followed or tracked, monitored over time to get some details about the case, things like that. But we lack infrastructure regarding the cyber forensics. Underreporting of cyber crimes. Now many people don't report the cases. It's because of fear of reputational damage, that they are educated and they are very well organized in nature, but still they are falling prey to the cyber crime. So they feel that it's a lack of social honor, things like that. No, it's an issue of reputation also. So mostly people don't report. And inadequate public awareness. Mostly, first of all, people don't know whether particular incident is a cyber crime or not. Because in this case, you can see that in cyber arrest, most people don't recognize that this is a cyber issue. They think that they are really caught under the issue of some legal issues. They partially somewhere their identity is theft, things like that. So there is lack of public awareness about these kind of issues. There are gaps in legislation such as data protection and IT Act. There are gaps in legislation also. For example, in data protection act, it is been said that the data is protected when it is generated in digital level, but the data that is generated at the offline level, it is not comes under the law. Things like that. There are gaps in the legislations also. Okay. So these are the challenges and measures taken by the government, and try to use these points in the mains examination to add value to your answer, right? Now coming to the next article. Now the context of the news is that recently the conference of United Nations regarding global plastic treaty is happening in Busan, South Korea. Right? Now it is being said that certain things are not okay for the, or disagreements are there between the developed and developing countries in this conference also, regarding the targets and conclusive frameworks, etc. Now let's discuss something about the background of this topic. Now you know that in 2022, United Nations Environment Assembly has set a target of ending plastic pollution, right? To make this a reality, it's said that by 2025 we need to have a protocol or global regulation on the production of the plastic to end the use of plastic and develop some alternatives, things like that. Now, in this context, to achieve this protocol, there are a series of negotiations. That is, intergovernmental negotiations are happening, and this negotiation happening in Busan, South Korea, is the last of that is fifth one. Okay. Now, this is the context of the news. Now, it is being said that these plastic particles are affecting human health, flora and fauna, marine ecosystem in the name of marine plastic pollution, and things like that. Hence, it need to be controlled. And it is being said that this plastic pollution is also contributing to the greenhouse gases. How? Because the production process of plastic lead to around 3 to 4% of the global greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. Now, this is the context of the news. Now, all this has to be counted. Now, it is being said that why a global treaty is required. A global level consensus is required to control this production of plastics. Now, it is being said that protocols like Montreal Protocol lead to 90% reduction in the production of ozone depleting substances. Now, success of things like this is because of the global consensus and global actions, simultaneous actions regarding reduction of a particular chemicals or things like that. Now, in this context, to reduce the plastic pollution, it is a need of our that global countries simultaneously should take a concrete action in reducing the use of the chemicals, especially plastic polymers use, and also chemicals that are used, harmful chemicals, particularly in the production of these plastics. Now, this is the context of the news. Now, what is the India stance? That is what very much required, because in GS paper 3, if you see, there are previous year questions asking about what are the outcomes of COP27, things like that. Not only outcomes, it's asking what is the India stand and what are the limitations of this conference and things like that. Okay, in that context, you have to remember this article is relevant from the perspective of GS paper 3. Okay, conservation of biodiversity and climate change, things like that. And regarding waste management, also there is GS paper 3 question in solid waste management previously. Now, in this context, we will see what are the India stands under this treaty. Now, first of all, remember from the examination point of view that it is a legally binding instrument, a global treaty to govern the plastic production and use across all the nations. Now, what is India is saying that now India is opposing the production caps. Now, production caps is opposing because this production involves a lot of employment and manufacturing in India. Now, this should be based on the national interest or domestic conditions. Now, this is what the thing. Now, another important thing is regulation of harmful chemicals. Now, it is being said that there is a need of regulation of harmful chemicals. India is accepting that, but which chemicals has to be controlled, how much level it should be controlled, it is based on the, again, domestic conditions. That is what India is saying. Now, next, it is being said the approach to plastic phase out. India is supporting this phase out. Now, already India has this plastic waste management rules of 2021, in which it already banned single-use plastic of 19 categories. Okay, this is supported by India also. Next, focus on the financial and technical assistance. Now, India is saying that developed countries should focus on the providing financial services to the developing countries in these mitigation strategies of climate or plastic pollution, and they need to provide technological assistance, especially because developed countries are involved in research and development of plastic alternatives, right? Especially sustainable alternatives. Hence, you have to provide such technology also to ensure that there is a global practices in reduction of plastic production. Now, it is saying that any treaty should be pragmatic and driven by the national circumstances. It should not be dictated by the one country on the other. Now, this is what India is saying. Now, India is saying that there should be focus on the research and development for sustainable alternatives. Now, India is also saying that you should not dictate which polymers to be banned or which are to be used, because already certain kind of polymers are India used at multiple levels of sectors. Hence, it involves a lot of employment and contribution to the economy. And plastics are inevitable to certain extent to some decades, because plastics are low weight, easy to use materials. Hence, it is pervasive that in most of our daily life, it is pervasive in everything what we use, right? So suddenly you cannot put some restrictions on countries like India or any other developing country. So that is what the India's arguments. Okay, another argument is saying that there are certain chemicals that are already controlling the production under the Stockholm Convention, right? Stockholm Convention of Persistent Organic Pollutants and other conventions under the UNEP. So they should not be repeated again. That is what India is saying. Now, this is what the India stands. Okay. Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is saying that scientists, industry demand passage of new seeds bill and changes in the policy. Now, this article is relevant, especially the seeds thing is relevant because of the theme, because in previous year questions, already it is twice asked about the seeds in the prelims examination, right? It is asked about seed village concept. It is asking about the national seeds policy, things like that, okay? Now, you have to know that in India, seeds are regulated under the Seeds Act 1966 and Seeds Rules 1968, okay? That means there is a legal framework to control the seeds in India. Now, it is being said that the prices of the seeds in India are not completely market driven or not completely regulated by the government. That is, there is involvement of both market and government. Remember why I am saying this thing? Because if you see this question, in the context of food and nutritional security in India, enhancing the seed replacement rates of various crops helps in the achieving the food production targets of the future. But what is or are the constraints in its wider or greater implementation? Now, it is being said that the given option is there is no national seeds policy in India. Now, again, this is a wrong statement, because in India there is a seed policy of 2002. Right? Hence, this is a wrong statement. Now, there is no participation of private sector seed companies in the supply of quality seeds of vegetables and things like that. Now, again, this is a wrong statement. Now, it has been said that just now I said there is a private sector involvement and seed companies in producing the good quality seeds in India also, right? Now, hence, this is also a wrong statement. There is a demand supply gap regarding the quality seeds in case of low value and high value crops. This is true. Now, this is what the things you have to know from this article. Now, this article is context of the news is that there is a 13th National Seeds Conference is happening in this. From the government side, politicians, scientists, experts, industry partners, all these some farmer leaders are also came here discussing that quality seeds are important for doubling the farmers' income and increasing the production. Especially here it is mentioned that food and nutrition security. Now, why it is being said like that? Because now in India there is an issue called seed replacement rate. Now this issue seed replacement rate is low. What does it mean? Now it is being said that, for example, let's say an example of black grams. You know that black grams, once it is harvested, farmers won't sell all the black grams that they have. They will sell some things and kept with them certain things. That what is kept with them is used for cultivation in the next year. Now, things like that. Now it is been said that this process is known as lack of seed replacement. So what it leads to? It leads to less capacity of seed germination. Now this affecting. Now it has been also said that this affect the production also. Now it has been said that if you use same type of seeds again and again, the production capacity is also reducing, right? And it is also increasing the pressure on the land, increasing the input cost for the farmers and things like that. Now this has to be changed. Now other thing is that there are government policies outdated. Now it is being said Seeds Act is in 1966. Seeds rules are in 1968. Now there are a lot of structural and functional changes happen, and technological changes also happen in terms of genetic modification and all these things stuff, right? Now to be relevant in this context, government need to focus on changing in the policy and new seed bills. This is the context of the news. Okay, from the examination perspective, you have to know that there is involvement of both government and market in seeds supply in India. That's the first thing. Yes, there is a needs. How we have Seeds Act of 1966, Seeds Policy of 2002. From the examination perspective, remember these things. Okay. Now try to address this 97th question. This is also one of the PYQ. Now it is being said, which of the following is the object of seed village concept? Right, the answer is here: involving the farmers for training in quality seeds production and thereby making available of these quality seeds to others at appropriate time and affordable cost. Now this is what the answer. Now this seed village concept can be used as best practice in GS paper 3 if at all any question asking about the improving of production, food security, things like that. Okay. Now coming to the next article. Now this article is saying that recently 11th National Maritime Search and Rescue Exercise, this is known as SAREX 2024, is being conducted by the Indian Coast Guard. Okay, now this is the context of the news. Now why this article is important? Now if you see the films PYQ, it was asked that exercise, especially military exercises, are being asked by the UPSC. Now if you see this question, this was just asked in 2024 itself. Which of the following statements about the exercise Mitra Shakti 2023 either are correct? Now this was a joint military exercise between India and Bangladesh. Now this is the wrong statement. It is between India and Sri Lanka. Now if you remove the one, now the answer is 2, 3, 4. Now the remaining things are correct. Now why I'm saying this? Because these exercises like this are important from the examination perspective, especially prelims. Okay, now we'll see some certain details about this National Maritime Search and Rescue Exercise, SAREX 2024. Now first and foremost, it has been conducted by the Indian Coast Guard. Okay, the exercise name is SAREX 2024. Now where it is happening? It happened in Kochi, Kerala. Okay, remember that there are other Indian Coast Guard exercises that are happening in the Visakhapatnam also, but this was happening in Kochi, Kerala. Remember. Now what is the theme? Enhancing the search and rescue capabilities through regional collaboration. Okay. Now who are the stakeholders involved in? Indian Coast Guard, Indian Navy, Air Force, Cochin Port Authority, and Customs. Now what is the objective? To evaluate the operational efficiency and coordination. Now this coordination can be tested here. See, the participating agencies are Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force. Now all these are the agencies involved in the protection of the marine borders, right? Now the coordination between these agencies has to be tested in this any situation happen. Now the significance is that it is the largest ever simulations, enhancing cooperative engagement and between the littoral states and friendly nations and things like that. Now majorly you have to remember that it is the SAREX 24 Indian Coast Guard Kochi, Kerala. It has to its theme and things like that. Okay. Now in GS paper 3 also you can use. Now it is being that what is the India's readiness in conserving the maritime border, especially in the Chinese aggression context, things like that. Now there in GS paper 2, if it is asked in IR concept or in GS3 about marine border, in both the context you can use this. Okay, smartly this RX24 exercise saying that we have an operational efficiency and coordination exercise happening, things like that. You can use in the answer also. Okay, in this way you can smartly integrate this prelims news into the mains also. Okay, now coming to the next article. Now this news article is saying that we will not allow tungsten mining at a heritage site. This is said by the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Stalin. Now what is the context of the news? Now the context of the news is that central government given to the private company a mining rights near Aritapatti, near Madurai. Now this is a heritage site. Now how this thing is relevant to the examination perspective? Now if you see previous year question, it was asked about Biodiversity Management Committee. Now this Biodiversity Management Committee is established under the Biodiversity Conservation Act of 2002. Right, in India we have this act in conservation of biodiversity. Now this is established under this act. Now it is being said that this Aritapatti is a biodiversity heritage site. Now this biodiversity heritage sites are declared under this Biodiversity Conservation Act of 2002. Remember, this is a legal framework. Now, okay, that's why this is important from the examination perspective. Right, you don't need to remember this entire biodiversity heritage site because there are a lot are there. Now you have to remember that thing. It is established under the legal framework of this Biodiversity Conservation Act of 2002. Now other things you have to remember is that certain bodies, statutory bodies established under this Biodiversity Conservation Act. That is National Biodiversity Authority. Now this is a statutory body. It's headquartered in Chennai. Okay, established under this act itself. Next, Biodiversity Management Committee is also established under this. Now these Biodiversity Management Committees prepare these biodiversity registers about the local flora and fauna and things like that. Now this is what the context of the news, or this is what things you have to know from the examination perspective. Okay, and one thing it is mentioned is that now the chief minister is saying that before giving any mining rights or allocation, just seek the state's consent. Now this is what the request, okay, or context. Now we will try to answer this question. In India, biodiversity management committees are key to realization of objectives of Nagoya Protocol. Yes, this statement is true. Now, Nagoya Protocol is one of the protocol in United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. Right, to control the genetic diversity, this Nagoya Protocol is there. And to complaints to the Nagoya Protocol, we enacted this Biodiversity Conservation of 2002. Okay. Now, this statement is true. Now, biodiversity management committees have important functions in determining access and benefit sharing, including the power to levy collection fees on the access of biological resources within its jurisdiction. Now, yes, it is true statement. Now, both 1 and 2 are correct. Okay, you have to remember these things from this Biodiversity Conservation Act of 2002. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you. Have a nice day.